And I want to commend the team out there. Let's go to Dr. Sherri Tenpenny, who's done practice in Mexico and the U.S., been covering the bird flu extensively on international TV and radio. And Dr. Tenpenny, you just heard that briefing I did. Biden confirms this and just says, look, don't get on trains, don't get in airplanes. And they've known this now, it turns out, for weeks. They're using this as a total takeover, whether it's deadly or not. This may be disinfo Pentagon stuff they put out to scare the locals, to create covert hype for the federalization as a cover during the economic collapse. Or, and I hope that, that's the lesser of two evils, the lesser of two weevils, as they say in Master and Commander. But this could be real. It's clearly engineered. Dr. Tenpenny, go ahead.
Wow, Alex, that's it's like what do I say after that? It's overwhelming, and it's hard for me to stand over here and feel kind of like the Lone Ranger and say, gosh, I can't imagine that all is real of the way that they're saying it. I mean, the pandemic potential. I mean, if this was really super the way that it is, I mean, why are we seeing little spotty things here and there? Why aren't there tens of thousands of people already sick? Why is it that if the CDC says that we have 36,000 deaths per year of influenza, why is it that one child who had underlying health problems who died in South Texas, why does that make front page news? Why is it that coincidentally that, the government bought $2 billion worth of Tamiflu 3 years ago, and I've been told that the Tamiflu has a 3-year shelf life, and isn't it just interesting that was 3 years ago when they bought that? Is this a way for Merck to unload their inventory of their old stuff? Merck is also giving 80,000 doses of pneumonia shots, of adult pneumonia shots to Mexico, even though it's been proven in the medical literature it does nothing to ward off the flu.
Well, everything the globalists do is multifaceted. And they wouldn't just do this for Merck to get the Tamiflu, but that's a fringe benefit or a little extra goodie, a perk. It's clearly being used as a smokescreen for Chrysler going under, declaring bankruptcy today, everything imploding. The economic numbers are we are descending into horrible depression right now. And so clearly they're hyping it to smokescreen that. And then Obama, gives a speech last night and hardly mentions it and acts all calm as our daddy figure. But please continue.
Well, it's just kind of coming in from all directions. And we're not going to know the end game until the end game's here. Because what you just teed up on your intro there is true. I mean, is this just a smokescreen or is this the real thing? It's hard for me to imagine that this is just absolutely the real thing with as few reported cases and as few reported deaths as we've had, that those number of deaths are smaller than the number of people killed in a car accident in a month. I mean, where is the hype and hysteria and the panic that's being kind of put out there is just beyond all rationality.
No, it is an act of psychological terrorism. It is an act of screaming fire in the theater.
In a public place.
But meanwhile, they're grandstanding as the savior, just like they terrorized us and said, give us the banker takeover powers or we'll have a depression, and that triggered the depression, even though they got their powers and things only got worse. And as they set up the Bank of the World and the world government publicly, no one's talking about that as the G20 sets it up and they pass carbon taxes. I agree with you, but what if what the feds are telling these doctors, and now Biden's confirmed it, that it's so mega deadly and that there's all these people on ventilators? I mean... But Alex,
they said that 3 years ago about bird flu too, remember? They said the exact same thing, 50% death rate. This is setting it up for the next pandemic. It's being spread by wild geese flying around the country. They had people on the borders in Germany shooting down geese. I mean, they said the same thing 3 years ago.
That's a good point. We need to do a story on that. And then I guess none of them will get in trouble when it turns out it wasn't real. They'll just pat themselves on the back and make...
Absolutely. We were better prepared this time because of what we did before. And thank God for Tamiflu. And thank God that BioShield 2 allowed us to ramp up on all of these vaccines so that we could have them all ready and handy. It's the same playbook, man. It's the same playbook as they did in 1976 with the swine flu, with SARS, with bird flu. It's the same playbook. Now, the circumstances may be a little bit different economically, globally, but in terms of what they're doing, they were saying 50% death rate from H5N1, the bird flu, 3 years ago. So this is no different. Maybe it's even the same
Well,
memo.
The only way it's different is the scare is 50 times bigger. I mean,
well,
this is just...
I don't know. I remember the same thing because I was writing my book Foul at that time, and I felt like I was writing it in real time with all of the news reports that were coming out daily, this and that and this and that, and do the Tamiflu and ramping up with Roche. It was the same thing. It's the same thing.
Well, I know they're certainly training us, so when they do release a real bioweapon, we all do what we're told. This is certainly a drill for martial law.
Well, absolutely. I don't disagree with that at all. But the hysteria and hype, and I remember it so well because I was in the middle of writing a book in real time while that was all going on. That it was the same sort of thing. They were tracking. They were setting up panels all over everywhere. I went to the first 2 national bird flu summits in Washington D.C. on my own. I funded myself to go to those, to listen to the hype that was happening then. And they had people from the World Health Organization saying, this isn't, maybe it's going to happen, it will happen. And they said it repeatedly. And that was 3 years ago. And then they put forth all of those documents. And so, yes, they've ramped it up. Maybe this is another trial run to see that all the systems are in place. But it's really, the hype is not that much different than it was 3 years ago.
Well, I don't remember all of this. I don't remember them shutting down schools all around me and the vice president.
No, they didn't shut down schools, but the whole hysteria about not traveling,
I understand, but I mean, the vice president has come out. Doctor, I'm going to come back and ask you about this. The vice president, in fact, John, you have that clip at the network, right? No, it's the Joe Biden clip. It's everywhere. Yeah, it's Drudge. It's everywhere. I want to play Joe Biden when we get back. It's only 20 seconds long. On national TV, saying don't get on planes, don't get on trains, don't get on subways. I mean, this is incredible. If this will kill our economy. Well, I hope Dr. Sherri Tenpenny is right. I hope these criminals are just hyping all of this fear as a political smokescreen and to sell tens of billions of dollars worth of vaccines and drugs. That's bad enough. I hope it isn't real. I hope that it doesn't spread with 40 to 50% infections, but I know they compartmentalize doctors and fearmonger them. I've caught the feds doing this many times in the past. But Dr. Sherri Tenpenny, I wanted to ask you about the Royal Society Academy of Medical Sciences document, April 27, 2006, tied in with the very vaccine makers that claim they've already got a vaccine for this, by the way, Novavax and others. It says, use of live vaccines. Dr. Wood and Robertson were asked their opinion of priming the population for a pandemic using live vaccines and if they consider it to be a good idea. However, the timing is critical. Live H5N1 vaccines are used now. It would be considered too dangerous. But if a pandemic is imminent, the risk may be justified. A stockpile of live vaccine with the cleavage site removed can be used to prime the population in advance of the pandemic reaching the UK. What does that mean?
Well, it's the live virus vaccine, flu shots that are out there are manufactured by Flu Mist. That's the intranasal injection of the flu vaccine, as opposed to an injection with the other shots. There were several reports that came out over the last year or so about that they were going to try using the H5N1 in Flu Mist, an attenuated form of it or a weakened form of it, to try to get it out into the population more. So they've been trying to do that all along.
What does primer mean?
The thing is, Alex, is of them being able to come up with a flu vaccine a lot quicker, the cell line technologies are able to harvest within 6 to 8 weeks. So I don't know if any of those factories are up in production yet in the U.S. They might be in Germany. But,
Novavax, I have their press release. They say they now have a vaccine for this very flu.
Then they're using cell line technology, which means that they're using cells of aborted fetal tissues, cells of aborted fetal tissue, dog kidney cells, or insect cells to grow the flu virus. Those are the 3 cell line technologies that are out there.
Yeah, I've got their press release. We'll cover it later. Where are you now? I know you're back in the United States, Doctor.
Yep, I'm in San Antonio. We were heading out today. We're going down to Houston, and then we're going home. And then I'm going to California, and my husband's going to Ohio. But you know what you said at the close of that last segment, Alex, I think is really important when you said that if Biden is saying don't get on trains, don't get on airplanes, don't get on buses, you know, part of this may be the last final implosion of the American economy. Because I said that as I was leaving Mexico. They showed scenes of these big mega hotels on the beaches that were empty empty and empty beaches.
No,
that
I mean, if our
floating there.
economy's on the verge of dying, this will kill everything. This will be what pushes us under. Let's play that clip right now and get your final comment. Here we go.
I would tell members of my family, and I wouldn't go anywhere in confined places now. It's not that it's going to Mexico. It's you're in a confined aircraft. When one person sneezes, it goes all the way through the aircraft. That's me. I would not be at this point, if they had another way of transportation, suggesting they ride the subway. So from my perspective, what it relates to is mitigation. If you're out in the middle of a field and someone sneezes, that's one thing. If you're in a closed aircraft, a closed container, a closed car, a closed classroom, it's a different thing.
Let me turn to the economy.
All right, Dr. Sherri Tenpenny. So that will be the final nail in our coffin. And I guess the bankers get to come in with all the trillions of bailout money they're hoarding and buy up what's left.
That sounds like the plan, Alex.
Oh, but they're elites in power. They're not ruthless. They're not into getting more power. You know, we can trust them. They actually care about us. Dr. Sherri Tenpenny, we got your website linked up at Infowars.com. Thank you so much for coming on with us. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Alex. Take care. Bye-bye.
You bet.